بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear listeners, viewers, it's Ustaaz Waqar with you. Hope you all are fine. Alhamdulillah Ta'ala. Today we're going to study another year past papers, that is June 2018, of Islamiyat O level or GCSE. Now, dear listeners, what I would like you to do is that you have to give me a feedback as to show things which are best for us. So your feedback is very important to us, and so tell us what is the best way to do it. Give us your feedback on the comments, or if you want to know about a question, I'll just stop for 10 seconds and let me know which question you like to know more, and I will inshallah ta'ala explain you about it. So, dear listeners, this is we have our first question. I hope you can hear me clearly now. That you have to write an account uh, of the first revelation. So, could you write it down in the comments? What are those four? What are those four uh, things which were, or what are the steps that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went through? Can you let me know about that? Okay. So, like for example, the first one was the tahannuf, and which is the other one? Which is the other one? Tell me about it. So, which is the other one? Let me know about it. Okay. So, as you know, the first one is the Hanuf, and then the Prophet of the revelation itself, and then the Prophet ﷺ, was in a state of shock. And then he rushes home, and the last one is Sayyidah Khadija. So you mentioned this all in here. So let's move on to the next one. And the next one is the Quran was revealed in different parts over a number of years. And why was this important? So the revelation of the Quran in different parts we are doing here write about the main events, the Battle of Khaybar and Tabuk. So this is the next question. So you're writing about the events of the battles itself. So you're going to be writing there about the Battle of Khaybar and Battle of Tabuk. Battle of Tabuk became a mission of peace instead of war. What can Muslims learn from this? So number one is you got to be strategically strong. You got to be aware of your plan, what you're intending to do, your strengths you need to be aware of, and then you should be aware that how you're going to use the strengths. If your plan A doesn't work, how are you going to use the plan B? So that something is very, very useful in here. Now we move on to the next one, and in order to learn about the next one, let's see what this foray is. Right, so here we have the Prophet's relations changed when, excuse me, when he began to receive revelations and describe the differences in the way the Quraysh uh, treated him in this after this event. So the revelation is something important, and then treatment of the Quraysh. This is the work, another thing we're looking at, and the differences or the ways that the way they treated Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then we have the Prophet did not change his character despite the way the Quraysh changed towards him, right? And what Muslims can learn. Very simple. Number one, you got to be consistent in your behavior. You got to be righteous in your approach, and your behavior should be based on Quran and Sunnah. This is something very, very important. So if your basis of behavior is Quran and Sunnah, then the things will go in a different direction. So here we see that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's behavior did not change, and he remained. And this unchanged behavior, or the show of kindness and showing of patience, actually led to conversion of many, many people. So especially for those who are in West, or those, this is an extremely important thing which you can look at to for the dawa and for the propagation. In fact, for your own knowing how to propagate Islam, and how to knowing also knowing like how can I become a good Muslim. That's the first thing we do. And let's move on to the next one. So we're doing P1, June 2018, 5A. Usman radiallahu anhu and Jafar radiallahu anhu were among the companions who migrated to Abyssinia. Write an account of this migration and events in it. So what you're going to be writing about here is that Sayyidina Uthman and those how these migrations happened, and what were the event that took place. Remember, first they went to migration is one event, then how they migrated is one event. When they reached there, then they were the Quraysh then approached Najashi or Negus, and then how he dealt with them, and what do you call it? And then the Quraysh tried to bribe Najashi. That's another event. How then the references of Surah to Maryam, which was narrated by Sayyidina, which was or, recited by Sayyidina Ja'far radiallahu ta'ala. So that was something important there as well. Now let's move on to the next question. How does the migration compare to the recent migration of the Muslims of the countries? Well, the basis, like what migration, what do we learn about it, the practicing of our religion, and making sure, you see, the basis is that you got to know what your religion is, number one, and then you got to know why are you migrating and why it is important, right? And on top of it, if you can remember, even in these days, if you're unable to uh, propagate and you're unable to practice your religion, you can still move on and go to different places. Then we move on to paper 2, June 2018. This is 2A. Why it became important to compile the prophetic traditions after the time of the rightly guided caliphs, because it needs to be compiled. So you're going to write down how in the centuries we are talking about the compilation of hadith in the first century we're going to talk about, and then we're going to move on to the other as well. All right. So, dear listeners, we are talking about the 2018 2A. And let's move on and see what can we learn more about this. And now, in your opinion, can Islam be practiced without the Hadith? Uh, well, it cannot be. Why? Because number one, it's a second source of Islamic law. Number two, this is the Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the practical application. And number three is that Hadith is something which is very easy to follow. If you look at it's a beautiful word, very easy to understand as well. So you cannot got away, or you say that if I live without hadith as a Muslim, it's very difficult, very difficult. Right? You need hadith in order to understand the Quran. You need hadith in order to understand the morals and manners of Islam. So hadith is a very pivotal uh, source of Islam, which cannot be ignored. I hope I've in detail explained this question. Right about the main events of the Battle of Khaybar and Tabuk. So remember, we're talking about main events of the battles, of these battles we're talking about. Now we move on to give reasons for why you have selected two battles in the part A, uh, and being the most important, as being the most important. So you select one of the battles and you tell the wife this is more important. Whichever you're most comfortable with, you're going to do that battle and just write about it. And let's move on, and we're going to be doing June 2018, paper 2. Write in detail with the Muslim belief in the life after death and the day of judgment. Right. Now, can you tell me in the comments that is life after death and day of judgment is the same? If it's same, uh, and if it's not, what's the difference? Right. So first thing you're going to say, tell me that is it same? Life after death and day of judgment are the same thing, and if they are not, how they're different. So write it down in the comments. I give you another 10 seconds to write it down. So you got 10 seconds to do that. All right, everyone. Let's see how much we have reached. So, uh, yes, there are different. The day of judgment and the life after death are two different concepts. So you write about them. The day of judgment is Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of Qiyamah, and the life after death is Akhirah. So they come together, they're linked together, but they are two different things. How does the belief in the life after death affect the life of a Muslim? Tremendously affects it. The whole, uh, the way you look at life, it changes with once Akhirah come into action. Once you understand what is Akhirah, what is the value of Akhirah in a Muslim's life, your whole life's going to change. The way you do business, the way you do your deal with your parents, the way you deal with your children, the way you spend your day. In fact, everything's gonna change, right? So you're gonna that, and also Rasulullah's hadith that then you will realize what why Rasulullah said that this world is believers' prison and non-believers' paradise. So that is all akhirah that makes the difference. Right, dear listeners, this is 2018 we're doing, and this is Ustaz Waqar, and we are learning the past paper. Uh, and what are those questions, and be discussing about that. Let's move on. And if you have any question, as I told you earlier, you can write me an email. My phone number is there on the screen. You can contact me via that number as well. And WhatsApp. Right. And there's no God. The June 2018 5A, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger. Write about the significance of Shahada to a Muslim. So, what is the topic? Shahada. So, we're going to talk about Shahada, and we're going to be writing about those. Remember, the first part comprises of La ilaha illallah, and the second part comprises of Muhammadur Rasulullah. If you still have any question, you can ask me in the section. Okay, now we move on to the next one. That is, we move on to November 2018. We're a little slow today. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll try to catch it up. And paper 1, November 2018 2A, write an account how the four sources of Islamic law are used together. Four sources. Very difficult question. It's not a difficult question, but it's a very lengthy question. So make sure you handle it well, you know it well, you practiced it well before the exam. Don't do it on the day of exam. Okay. So all the four sources together, how they use together, very famous question. How useful are ijma and qiyas when dealing with modern issues? They are very, very important because they are the ones who actually guide Muslims towards the latest issues which they are facing. Okay. So then we move on to the next one, that is give at least four examples from his life. Write about the ways in which the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ shows his generosity and humility. So if you notice, we're talking about four examples. Reference what? Where he showed his generosity and humility. So you're going to write about it. And then remember, as unit number 3, the life of the Prophet ﷺ, where you're going to find the answer in there. Give examples, right, about how Muslims can be generous with their neighbors. So this is how you can be generous. So remember, we can take one reference, like how Rasulullah ﷺ was kind to his neighbors, and how can we apply that in our lives. So that's something we can look into. And then we move on to the next one. And this is November 2018 4A. The Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina from Mecca. Write about Ansar and Muhajirin and the way they helped each other. It's a very, very important question. And if you have done the question of Mawakhat, you will be very easily be able to do this question. And also, in the beginning of the first Muslim community, you can find who are Muhajirin, who are Ansar, and the importance of them. And so you can approach that way as well, and you can approach through Mawakhat as well. There are two approaches to this question that you can approach. Using the examples, what can Muslims do for these people who left their homes and come to live amongst them in their communities. I've explained in great details in 2017. This similar question came, right? And we're going to be kind, we're going to be generous to them, we're going to be patient with them, and we try to settle them out in the community, right? And we got to be different, right? Remember, because they're in difficult situation, and we help them out. We have done it with people with Afghanistan, we've done it with the people of Palestine, we've done it with the people of Bosnia, we've done it with the people of Albania, and so forth. So these are the Muslims. Recent examples I'm talking about. There are many, many more examples where, but there is no such example like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mawaqat between the Muhajirin and Ansar. Move on to 5a and the detailed account of the lives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's daughter Zainab and Fatima. So we are talking about descendants of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In this, we're going to write about Sayyida Fatima and Sayyida Zainab. Remember, we need to balance. I know you're going to write more about Sayyida Fatima, but try to have a balance. Very important. And then we move on to 5b. What can Muslims learn from the Prophet about the relationship between father and daughters? Rasulullah's relations with his daughters. We're going to start with that, and what we learn is kindness, love, and tarbiyah, and giving them time and giving them honor. Like he used to rise when Sayyidah Fatima used to arrive at his house. So this is something we can do to our daughters as well, inshallah ta'ala. Now we move on to November 2018. This is P2 we're talking about. And so 2A says the hadith are broadly classified as sound, good, like Hassan, Da'if, will write a detailed account of these three categories of these. This is the second time this question is coming, and the first time probably it came in 2016, and now it's again coming back in 2018. So it's a very important question, and you're going to write about what are these types, and you're also going to give examples. I know many of you don't like that, but it's very important. In old days, I'm talking about maybe 15 years back, when this question used to come, they specifically used to ask examples, and there were specific marks for examples of the Sahih Hadith, of Da'if Hadith, of Mawdu Hadith, of Hasan Hadith. Right? So we move on to what is, in your opinion, is the importance of classifying Hadith. Importance of Hadith, of classification of Hadith is very, very important. And because through this there is a process of authentication, and that process of authentication we come to know which hadith is sahih, the different levels, the categories of the hadith which have been made, and it is more important from that because hadith is also a source of Islamic law. So many of if the hadith is, for example, fabricated, so we cannot make a law based on that fabricated. So therefore, in that situation, the authentication or the classification of the hadith becomes very, very important. So much more you can write about that. Then we move on to how did arbitration following the Battle of Siffin. Remember, this battle was led to the emergence of Kharijites. Let me read again. How the arbitration following that what the Battle of Siffin took place, and then there was a arbitration which led to negotiations which were happening, which led to emergence of Kharijites. So how all this happened, you're going to write about that. Remember, we're not writing about Battle of Siffin here. We can how Battle of Siffin is basically Battle of Siffin ended, then the negotiation started, and then the Kharijites came out. So this is the way you're going to be writing about it. The Kharijites were the main reason Ali radiallahu anhu not winning the Battle of Siffin. Do you agree or disagree? Give the reasons for support of your answer. I don't think so. They are the reason for, they are not the reason why Sayyidina Ali was winning or losing. They were there to support Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala. Yes, there were a number of people there, but they were not the main reason because of which Sayyidina Ali lost, or as the people, because both the sides actually agreed to a truce. So. If these people were a great headache, they were a problem for Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala, So Kharijites, once they got separated from Sayyidina Ali, then they were a problem for Sayyidina Muawiyah and Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, for both. So therefore, we cannot say that everything was happening because of them. So you can look at Mark's screen for great details as well if you want to. According to the Muslim belief, what part do angels play in the everyday lives of human beings? So here, the angels, belief in angels we're talking about, and application to what roles they play, like what are, and then how they impact us. For example, Jibreel alayhi salam, then Israel alayhi salam. Then we have what the role Israfil alayhi salam will be playing. Then the two angels here, then and so forth. Like angels perform different duties and which impacts the human beings, and we're going to talk about that. So basically, it's belief in angels followed by the duties of the angels, and then you would conclude it that how it relates to the human beings and how it impacts us. 4B, November 2018. What, in your opinion, is the primary link between angels and the prophets in Islam? Uh, it is like it's a very important thing, and belief in angels is important, and belief in prophets is important. And the reason being because every prophet uh, had the communication through, like between Allah and the prophets. The angels were responsible for that communication. So therefore, now they were the bridge. So they are important, and they used to bring the message. Jibreel alayhi salam used to bring the message. So that's again is very important as well. And uh, and then Mikael alayhi salam and all that. So therefore, the angels play an important role in passing on the message of Allah and doing their different tasks and helping the prophets in accomplishing their tasks as well. You can give an example of Lut alayhi salam as well. If you want, you can give an example of Ibrahim alayhi salam, when Jibreel alayhi salam came to this, can I help you when you're in the fire? Right. So those things you can give many different examples there. Um, if you're still not clear, you can email me or you can send me a WhatsApp. Now we move on to the next one, and the next one is: in what circumstances are Muslims obliged to engage in armed fighting? Armed fighting, jihad. Jihad is said. And what rules and limitations apply to jihad? So this is physical jihad. I'm talking. Remember that there's several types of jihad. The physical jihad, in which we have this qital or jihad is safe, and then we have spiritual jihad, then we have mental jihad, and so these are the different. And then financial jihad is there. Those who have studied with me, I have given you handouts regarding the financial jihad. And if you would like that handout, please let me know. Inshallah ta'ala, I will try to pass it on to you as well. And there is a video, by the way, on jihad as well. So I'll try to link that video in here, and about jihad as well. So that would be it's a very useful video. And now the move on to the next one, November 2018 5D. What do you understand by the term jihad? So what is jihad? So it's in the beginning of the when the topic starts. What is jihad? As I've referred to you, there's a video of mine. You can look at that. There you will find what is jihad as well. And in simple words, comes from the word jahada, which means to strive. And what do we mean in Islamic terminology when we talk about jihad? We mean fighting or striving. Sorry, not fighting. Striving in the way of Allah. So jihad itself means striving in the way of Allah. That fighting thing that many people think, again, I'm just clarifying a misconception here. Many people think that jihad is only fighting. No, it's not. Every Muslim is in some sort of, in some state of jihad when you are you're doing, and that it's very important to understand what state you're in and what are you doing, what role you're playing, so forth. Right. So, and with that, let's see what's. Oh, it's Jazakallahumma khair. So that's all we have, my dear students. I hope today's video would have been useful to you. If you have any suggestions, you can also write it down in the comments. And if you have questions, you can email me, you can WhatsApp me, and on in the bottom of the screen, you may have seen my number and the email there as well. Now it's coming on the screen, as you can see. So you can WhatsApp me on this number, or you can email me, which is on the screen now as well. So you can do that as well. Take good care of yourselves and the people around you, particularly love and take good care of your parents. May Allah bless you all and may Allah give you great success in your exams and in the future endeavors as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.